Welcome to the Business Building Blocks podcast, where we talk about the struggles and celebrations that leaders and entrepreneurs experience on their journey to success. I'm your host, Kristina, and I'm passionate about helping you achieve massive amounts of success at work and at home. We'll talk about all things people and organizational wellness, share relatable stories, and feature insightful guests because quality people and processes are at the heart of every success story. Ready to learn, grow, and have fun? Let's dive in. Hello and welcome to the Business Building Blocks podcast. I'm your host, Kristina Schmitt. So today I want to talk about something that might seem like you're failing. It might seem like, oh, are we not as good as I thought I was? Or just something that happens to everyone. So I want to normalize maybe this process. And I did an episode we talked about chaos and how that gets introduced. And I want to expand on that a little bit more. And I want to get a little deeper in helping you to understand specifically, even if you've done all the right things and you've got a great culture, you've got great everything, that when you introduce change, you're going to create chaos. And the whole purpose is that we need to normalize and minimize chaos. And we do that through very basic steps. So first, let's get into it and let's talk about, why does chaos get introduced? Yes, we've got changes. Yes, we have emotions, but there are some very real reasons. And when we understand them better, we can do something with them and we can be more empathetic with our team and we can help everybody through it better, including ourselves. So let's get into it. So the first thing we want to understand is that when we're introducing change, and it can be, little tiny change, but change at a team level, we are now taking people from this known, where they know what they're doing, they know exactly how to do it, and it's autopilot, and we're taking them to an unknown space. And that is scary. And there are stages that we go through. So let's first talk about how people learn. So when people are learning, they go through 4 basic stages, and actually a 5th one when we can get better at it. So I'll explain all 5. So the first stage is an unconscious incompetence. So what that really means is you don't know what you don't know. So I don't even know about this thing yet, so I know nothing about it. I don't even know that I don't know how to do it. Okay, so I like to use driving as a very simple example because most of us have learned how to drive and most of us have gotten to at least the 4th stage. Some people, maybe the 5th, but most of us at least the 4th. So when you are, 1 or 2, you have no idea even what driving is, right? You may have seen someone, driving a steering wheel. So your concept of driving is literally like taking the wheel and turning it side to side, right? It's like that's driving and you don't even know what you don't know. So total, complete, unconscious, so not aware of it, incompetence, can't do it. Then as you start to get into the preteen stage, so my 9-year-old has started to really ask questions like, well, what happens when you turn that blinker on? And, how does the car know to slow down and speed up? So he's starting to realize he doesn't know. So now it's an unconscious incompetence. So this is when, I see that there are things that I don't know. This is a very normal stage in the change management cycle, that you have to take people from this unconscious incompetence to a very conscious incompetence. So say, you're happily, blissfully unaware that there's anything different. And now, here's some stuff you have to learn. So think about what that might do to you if I say, here's some new things and I'm going to make you change how you're doing it. That sends a lot of stress responses up. That sends emotions up. So what happens is people kind of go, what? Right? And that is the start of chaos. So think about how it affects you when you're changing one thing, like you're introducing a new habit, right? You want to start working out in the morning when you're like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And so now you're in this unknown and you don't know. That is stressful. So we introduce the stress responses. So fight, flight, freeze, or that trauma response of fawn. So that's a learned one. So we're either going to buck the system, so the fight, we're going to run away. So we're just not going to do it. We're not going to respond to emails that are sent out. We're not going to pay attention to it at all, right? So we're running away from it. Freeze, don't say anything, don't do anything, don't change, right? So I'm just not going to do anything with it at all. And the fawn would be, okay, I don't understand it, but you said, okay, which sounds wonderful sometimes, but what happens is that that creates a lot of animosity. It creates pushback that's a silent, I don't want to say quiet quitting, but it's kind of a form of some kind of quiet quitting where people are going to buck the system in their brains, but then just comply on the outside. And that creates a lot of passive aggressiveness. And it's not good for teams. It's not good for change, and it's not good for productivity. Okay, so now we've found where the chaos gets introduced, because now we're stressed. But we're not just one single person stressed. Everybody's feeling it. Everyone feels stressed. So it's not just one person, it's the whole team. So 7 or 8, or if you're changing an entire process of an organization, it's those 7 or 8 plus all of their teams, which could be 7 or 8 people on top of that. So it's exponentially huge. Plus, do not forget this, you yourself as the leader are also being forced to change. I find this a lot with my kids. I like to use my kids because it's a very simple example, and children create such a raw display of what we as adults still feel, but we've learned how to cover up or mask, you might say. So when I'm trying to implement, let's say, a new bedtime routine, all right, so I also, I'm not just trying to corral my kids, so like I'm not trying to herd cats only, I am also trying to convince myself that I need to now do this new thing. So it's almost extra hard, particularly if maybe your geniuses don't lie in the galvanizing region, or maybe the DT even region. Like, so for me, I'm an ED, so enablement. I just want to agree and help people. Like we say with GEs, you might be able to encourage people right off a cliff, because it's like, you want to help, you want to say yes, and you're really good at encouraging them. So for me as an ED, I want to help. I want to say yes. I might see that there's a problem, but I still want to help and want to say yes. So I am fighting that natural want and that natural normal way of functioning, as well as trying to fight their engrooved in autopilot of what bedtime looks like. So it's double hard. And so now more chaos. And yeah, it happens, and it's real. You can see it at home. You can see it within yourself. And imagine it's going rampant through your business because you're implementing a new product, or you're changing how you run the place because you're trying to put standards in, and you're leading your team differently. You're doing different things. They're going, what in the world are they doing? And I don't even know how to deal with them. So like, you're introducing all of this chaos. All right, so back to the learning process. So we've covered, you don't know what you don't know. So that unconscious incompetence. Now you do know that you don't know it, and you're stressed, and you're like, ugh. Now you get into the learning. Now you get into how, like that. Now you're learning the process. So you're, what we call this is conscious competence. So this, you're doing it, and you have to think about every single step when you do it. So again, let's go back to driving. Most of the time, if you're driving like to your workplace, you're driving to the grocery store, you're driving to, drop your kids off at the sport thing or whatever it might be, it is so ingrained in your brain where you're going and what you're doing that you probably don't even remember that you're doing it. You couldn't think of any, unless something crazy happened, you probably have no recollection of the event. And that's called unconscious incompetence. And that is where we want to get to, and where we've taken people out of, right, to put them into this uncomfortable state. But right now they're in this conscious competence. So they can do it. We've taught them, or we're in the process of training them. They can do it, but they have to think about every single step. So think about what that feels like. So remember back to when you were probably 15 or 14 learning how to drive, and you're like, okay, I'm getting close to the intersection. I think I put my brake on now. Oh, that was too early. Now I've got to hurry up. Or, oh, that was way too late. Oh my gosh, we're taking the turn too fast. So very consciously have to think about what it is you're doing so that you can do it properly. And that can feel really hard, particularly when somebody is coming from this unconscious competence part where they didn't have to think. So this takes a lot more energy. This takes a lot more work. This takes a lot more thought, and people are going to need help from you as the leader. And you, the leader, also need to be supported. Otherwise, everyone's just going to fall back in and say, oh, it was hard. It didn't work. Right. And we can't have that. If we want to do things differently, we want to grow, we want to get better. We can't think that because it's hard, it's not working. So once we can start to continue to practice and support our team well through this conscious competence, we will start to get into the unconscious competence. And that's going to help us. That's really when we achieve the new norm. And that's when the chaos goes away. And it's like a long process through those stages 2 and 3. And it can feel very long depending on what it is, but the important part is that we're supporting them technically, especially early on, and more importantly, emotionally, so they don't get frustrated and stay in that fight or flight, freeze, fawn mode. Because let's go back to what that looks like. Those stress responses are very natural, ingrained, instinctual responses. Even the learned one can be somewhat instinctual. And when we're in those types of responses, not only is our body in a very unhealthy sort of state, because we shouldn't be in those for very long term, but we're also not thinking clearly. We're operating our best. We're not behaving the way we want to behave because we're stressed. We're in this like stretched out, think of a rubber band, you're already stretched, right? So every little thing is going to hit harder. Every little thing is going to feel harder. Every little thing is going to make more of an impact to us. So we want to get out of that as quickly as possible, but we also need to support people while they're through it. Okay, so I promised a fifth stage. There is a fifth stage of after you get to the unconscious competence is that you get into almost a reflective competence. So what that means is you know how to do it so well that you can break it down for others. So it's important that somebody, as you're training this, is capable of getting to that reflective competence state as you're trying to train people and learn new things. So naturally, if the whole world is changing, if everybody's changing together, no one is there yet. So you're all in this conscious incompetence and conscious competence state, trying to break it down and teach each other. More chaos, right? So what do? It's great to have the written down process, systematic things written down. When I do it with teams and when I did it when I was a plant manager, we would break it down and do a process flow. So flow charts are great because if you can't flow chart, write it through, then you've probably got a gap in your process. That is extremely helpful to making sure that before anybody gets to the reflective competence portion, that you're writing it down and having at least something coherent to train people to. In the spirit of continuous improvement, it doesn't have to be perfect. Get a process written down, work that process, make improvements as you go. That's great. That's what you want to do. I had a boss who used to say, get it to 80%, we'll figure out the last 20. And that works. That should work really well for my entrepreneurs who love to wing it, right? So get it to 80%, make sure it works. Get a team to develop that process flow first, teach everybody, and then as you get good at it, after you get to that unconscious competence portion, now people will start to get that reflective competence, and now you can make improvements. And that's how we get everybody through it. So let's break that down to some basic steps. So some key things and key tips that are going to help you minimize the chaos or shorten the chaos portion is number one, stay focused on one goal at a time. When I work strategies with teams and with leaders, we talk about what's the most important thing right now. I do it myself. I have to recalibrate myself every now and again because I want to change a lot of things. I want to get to a lot of places and it gets really exciting. So it's easy to get off track. So if you can think of quarterly chunks, you can think of 3 to 9 month mini goals. However your team is going to operate best, get that way and keep everybody centered around that. Number two, once you've got that thing, you have to keep that goal top of mind. So you need to discuss it regularly and rate your progress and make sure you're talking about the things that are getting in the way so you can overcome it. So when we talk about this is like a weekly tactical meeting or a staff meeting where you're actually talking about the goal and your regular stuff as well, but you kind of review a quick dashboard of, what's going on, and then you talk about the things that need to be talked about. That can help keep everything top of mind and making sure you're hitting things that need to be hit and corrected and adjusted as you go. Number three thing, communicate. All right. So we talked about how people are in this stress mode, right? They are stressed. And when we're stressed, our mind can just go, oh, what happens if this happens? And what happens if this happens? And I don't know about this. And the more people don't know, the more fear comes in. The best way that we can close that gap is to communicate very well. Even if you don't know the answer, get up there and say, this is where we are. And I don't know this yet, but we're going to keep you informed. So if that's a regular cadence of once a week or every morning or whatever needs to be done, some regular communication cadence. Number 4, keep relationships strong. Ideally, you have great relationships before going into a lot of change, but that's not always possible. So what you must be doing is doing one-on-one conversations with each member of your team. And I actually encourage one-on-ones peer-to-peer, especially as changes are happening, to keep people building relationships, talking about things that are issues, and getting all the kind of crap out of the way. It's going to build a stronger team. It's going to have more coherence, and it's going to make people work better together. And the last thing, number 5, don't forget about yourself. Make sure you, the leader, have an outlet. You are going through this with them. If you're in chaos mode, they're in chaos mode. You have to stay a step ahead of them, and you have to stay in control. And that's hard to do by yourself. And I'm going to say it's impossible to do by yourself. I am a coach. I know the things that people need to do, but I can't do it by myself. I need to coach myself because you're in your head. You can't, they say you can't see the forest through the trees. You can't. Leaders need helpers. And that can be a coach. That could be a therapist. That could be a boss if you have one. That could be a mentor or a very understanding spouse or good friend. But what you have to know that they have to know that they're helping you through this, right? So if it's your spouse and they don't know it, or if it's your friend, they don't know it, that might drag down that relationship. So make sure this person knows they're supporting you through the change and they're your support person, your support animal, whatever that needs to be. So keep those 5 things in mind, and you're going to help minimize this chaos, even if your team is healthy, that you will go through. So again, it's not going to eliminate the chaos, but it's going to make it a controlled chaos rather than a chaotic chaos. So if you enjoyed today's episode, please like it, share it with a friend, leave a review, and subscribe to the YouTube channel, the podcast, wherever it is that you're on the podcast and hearing this, and share it with somebody who needs to know. And I will see you on the next episode of the Business Building Blocks podcast.
Thanks for tuning in to the Business Building Blocks podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss what's next. If you found value in our conversation, please leave a quick review, like, or share. It helps us reach more amazing listeners like you. For more resources and insights, visit KristinaSchmitt.ca, where you can find tools and support to empower your leadership journey. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.